You weren't born just to pay bills and fade into the background. You're not here to sleepwalk through life, repeating the same day until you disappear. That feeling of being stuck? It's not your destiny, it's a signal. Right now, this is your wake-up call. The universe is telling you, stop settling. The time for shrinking yourself is over. There's a unique power inside you waiting to be unleashed. Listen to that inner voice calling for more. Don't accept the life handed to you by circumstance. You were born for more. Deep inside, you know you're capable of more. This isn't just for the lucky or the famous, it's your birthright. Society teaches us to play small, but your potential is vast. That restless feeling? It's your soul demanding growth. You weren't made for routine, you were made to soar. Acknowledge your untapped potential. Stop believing you're average. You can choose a new reality. You were born with a promise of greatness. We're told early on that big dreams are for other people. This lie convinces us to shrink, to play it safe, to settle. We build walls around our ambitions, trading potential for comfort. Doubt and past failures become proof we're not enough. But your dream isn't dead, it's waiting for you. You're not too late, not too old, not finished. The best chapters of your story are still ahead. Don't let the lie of limitation define you. Your story is unique and needed. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for TV. Too emotional, too different. She could have accepted that label, but she didn't. Instead, she turned her flaw into her superpower. Oprah didn't wait to be chosen. She chose herself. She built success by being real, not by conforming. Her story proves greatness isn't reserved for a chosen few. The opinions of others don't define your worth. You have the power to write your own story. Refuse to settle for someone else's vision of you. Choose yourself. Colonel Sanders didn't find success until his 60s. He faced over 1,000 rejections trying to share his chicken recipe. Most would have quit, but he kept going. Each no was just another opinion, not a final verdict. His belief in himself outlasted every setback. Age and failure didn't stop him, they fueled him. Your past doesn't dictate your future. It's never too late to start. Don't let rejection define you. You were born for more. Routine can feel like a warm embrace, a safe harbor in the unpredictable storm of life. It offers comfort, a sense of calm, and a neat, orderly structure to our days. There is a certain security in knowing exactly what comes next. The same alarm, the same commute, the same tasks, the same four walls of your office or home. This predictability can be reassuring, lulling us into a state of contentment. We convince ourselves that this stability is the goal, the prize at the end of a long struggle. But we must be cautious, for what feels like a sanctuary can slowly, imperceptibly become a cage. It is a golden cage, perhaps, gilded with the illusion of safety, but a cage nonetheless. True growth, the kind that stretches your soul and expands your world, very rarely begins within that comfortable seat. It happens just beyond the borders of your known world, in the territory of uncertainty and challenge. The same four walls that provide shelter can also become your limits. The same old chair that supports you can also hold you down, preventing you from rising to your full height. Fear is a clever architect, and it often builds our prisons out of the materials of comfort and routine. It keeps you safe, yes, but it also keeps you trapped in a state of perpetual fear. The fear of the unknown, the fear of failure, the fear of stepping outside the lines you have so carefully drawn. So you scroll through the lives of others on your phone, a passive observer of their adventures and achievements. You sigh, a quiet exhale of resigned acceptance, and you settle ever deeper into your well-worn groove. You have made an unconscious trade, a silent bargain with mediocrity. You have exchanged the brilliant, unpredictable spark of your potential for the steady, reliable discipline of the mundane. You have chosen the known comfort over the unknown greatness. You prioritize the feeling of being in control, even if the life you are controlling is a fraction of the one you could be living. This is the subtle trap of routine, the gentle slope that leads to a plateau of stagnation. But what if this idea of stable is just an illusion? What if the safety you cling to is not true security at all? What if that predictable, unchanging routine is not preserving you, but slowly breaking you from the inside out? What if it is quietly eroding your spirit, chipping away at your dreams, and dimming the light of your unique purpose until there is almost nothing left. The soul was not designed for stagnation, it was designed for flight. When you keep it caged in the familiar, you are not protecting it. You are slowly suffocating it, denying it the very oxygen it needs to thrive, which is growth, challenge, and the pursuit of more. The danger of a life lived on autopilot is that its damage is not immediate or dramatic. It is a slow, quiet erosion, like water dripping on a stone. Each day that you choose comfort over courage, you lose a tiny piece of yourself. Each time you silence the inner voice that whispers of more, it becomes a little fainter. The process is so gradual that you might not even notice it happening. You just wake up one day and realize that the passion you once felt has been replaced by a dull ache of emptiness. The vibrant colors of your dreams have faded into muted shades of gray, and you can no longer remember what it felt like to be truly alive and on fire with purpose. This erosion of the soul is the hidden cost of settling. It is the price you pay for the perceived safety of the familiar. You might have a steady paycheck, a secure job, and a life that looks successful from the outside. But inside, there is a growing void, a sense of being disconnected from the person you were meant to be. This is the routine trap in its most insidious form. It convinces you that you have everything you should want, while simultaneously stealing the one thing you truly need, a sense of meaning. It is a slow, spiritual death disguised as a responsible life, and it is the quiet tragedy of millions. You tell yourself that you will pursue your dream one day. You say you will start that business, write that book, or learn that instrument when the time is right, when you have more money, more security, or more free time. But one day is the most dangerous phrase in the human language. It is the lullaby that routine sings to keep your ambitions asleep. It becomes a perpetual tomorrow that never arrives, a convenient excuse to remain exactly where you are. The trap is not just the routine itself, but the belief that you will eventually break it without taking decisive action today. Procrastination is the anesthetic that numbs you to the pain of your own unrealized potential. Think about the energy you expend maintaining this state of being, the effort it takes to suppress your true desires to pretend you are fulfilled when you are not is immense. It is a constant, low-grade battle against your own spirit. This internal conflict is exhausting, draining you of the very vitality you would need to make a change. You become too tired to fight for your dreams because you are spending all your energy fighting against yourself. The comfort of the routine is not a source of rest. It is the source of your weariness. It is a heavy blanket that feels warm at first but eventually becomes suffocating, smothering the fire within. Now, let me paint a picture of someone who refused to let her circumstances become her cage. Let me tell you about J.K. Rowling, a woman who found herself in a situation that most would describe as the opposite of stable or routine. She was a single mother, navigating the aftermath of a failed marriage, living on government assistance, and battling clinical depression. She was, by her own account, as poor as it was possible to be in modern Britain without being homeless. There was no comfortable chair, no secure job, no safety net to catch her if she fell. Her reality was one of profound struggle and uncertainty. In the midst of this despair, she didn't have a fancy office or a state-of-the-art computer. Her grand ideas were not born in a boardroom or a quiet study. The magical world of Harry Potter, a universe that would eventually captivate the entire globe, began its life on scraps of paper, on torn napkins in small Edinburgh cafes. She wrote whenever and wherever she could, stealing moments between caring for her baby daughter and searching for work. She had no cash, no fame, and absolutely no guarantee that her efforts would ever amount to anything. All she had was a story burning inside her, a dream so powerful and persistent that she simply could not forget it or let it go. This is the critical difference. While many of us allow our comfortable routines to extinguish our dreams, she used her dream to fight against her uncomfortable reality. The story was not a hobby, it was a lifeline. It was an act of defiance against the despair that threatened to consume her. She chose to pour her energy not into accepting her situation, but into creating a world that was far bigger and more magical than her own. She refused to settle for the bleak narrative that her circumstances were writing for her. Instead, she picked up a pen and wrote a new one herself, one filled with courage, friendship, and the triumph of light over darkness. Now, billions of copies of her books have been sold. Millions of people, young and old, have read the words she painstakingly weaved together during the darkest period of her life. That magic exists in our world because she dared to believe when she had every reason not to. It exists because she chose purpose over despair. She did not settle for the life she had. She reached for the one she could imagine. Her story is a thunderous testament to the power of a single, unwavering dream. So I ask you again, what is your dream? What is the story still waiting inside of you, waiting for you to pick up the pen? Inside of you, right now, a seed of magnificent potential lies deep within the soil of your being. It is a divine blueprint, a unique and powerful gift that you are meant to cultivate, sow, and eventually reap as a bountiful harvest. This is not a metaphor for something you need to acquire. It is a description of something you already possess. It was planted there at the moment of your creation, containing the full and complete instructions for the most extraordinary version of your life. This seed holds your unique talents, your deepest passions, and the purpose that only you can fulfill in this world. It is the very essence of your greatness, waiting patiently for the right conditions to sprout. However, we often misunderstand the nature of growth. We live in a world that craves instant results, and we become discouraged when our efforts don't bear fruit immediately. But you must understand that not every seed is designed to bloom on the same schedule. Some require more time in the darkness, more nurturing, and more patience before they are ready to break through the surface. Do not mistake a period of quiet, unseen development for a lack of progress. Slow growth is not the absence of growth. It is often the foundation for the most resilient and lasting shine. The strongest trees are not those that shoot up overnight, but those that spend years developing deep, unshakable roots. You have a voice that the world desperately needs to hear. It is a voice that carries your unique wisdom, your personal story of struggle and triumph, and the insights you have gained along your journey. This voice may have been silenced by criticism, fear, or your own self-doubt, but it has not been extinguished. You possess a formidable strength that has the power to rise far past the boundaries of your fear, a resilience that has already carried you through every challenge you have ever faced. This strength is not a finite resource. It is a well that deepens every time you draw from it, especially when you think it has run dry. And deep within you, there is a fire that simply will not go out. It may have been dimmed by the winds of disappointment, dampened by the rains of sorrow, or starved of oxygen by the suffocating grip of pain or doubt. But even now, a persistent ember glows in the darkness. It is the pilot light of your soul, the unquenchable flame of your spirit. It is the proof that your purpose is still alive, still waiting. Your job is not to create this fire, but to simply clear away the debris that is smothering it. You must tend to it, protect it, and give it the fuel it needs to roar back to life. Now let me tell you about a man who was handed a label so damaging it could have buried his seed of potential forever. Let me tell you the story of the great Les Brown. He and his twin brother were born into poverty in an abandoned building in a low-income section of Miami, Florida. They were given up for adoption and raised by a loving mother who did her best. But the world around him was not so kind. In grade school, he was a boisterous and hyperactive child, a dreamer who struggled to focus. Because of his boundless energy and his difficulty with reading, he was tragically mislabeled by the school system. He was declared educable, mentally retarded. Imagine the weight of those words on a young boy's spirit. Educable, mentally retarded. It is a label that is not just a description, it is a verdict. It is a cage built of syllables, designed to limit his horizons and define his future before it had even begun. This label was repeated to him, reinforced by the system, and it became a shadow that followed him everywhere. It was a constant echo in his mind, telling him that he was less than, that he was not capable, that he would never achieve anything of significance. For many, this would be the end of the story. The seed of greatness would be crushed under the unbearable weight of such a devastating judgment. He was placed back from the 5th grade to the 4th grade, and he failed the 8th grade. The system, the very institution that was supposed to nurture his potential, was instead actively suppressing it. He internalized the lie. He began to believe that the label was the truth of who he was. He saw himself as others saw him, as someone who was not smart enough, not good enough, and not destined for anything more than a life of struggle. This is the power of words. They can become the bricks and mortar of a prison cell that we unknowingly build around ourselves, trapping our true potential inside walls of self-doubt and perceived limitation. But a seed of greatness is a resilient thing. Even when buried under layers of negativity and false labels, it retains its blueprint for what it is meant to become. Les Brown carried this label with him through his young adult life, but something inside of him, that inner fire, refused to be completely extinguished. There was a part of him that knew, on a soul-deep level, that the label was a lie. He felt the stirrings of a different destiny, a whisper of a promise that he was, in fact, born for more. The world had given him a verdict, but deep inside, his own spirit was preparing to file an appeal. The turning point for Les Brown came in high school, thanks to a teacher who saw past the label and spoke to the potential within. This teacher, Leroy Washington, challenged him. He saw the dormant seed and decided to water it. He told Les, "Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality." Those words were like a key, unlocking the prison of his limiting beliefs. It was the first time someone had given him permission to reject the label he had been carrying for so long. That single moment of belief from another person was enough to awaken the belief he had in himself. He began to see that the story he had been told about his life was not the one he had to live. He started to work on himself relentlessly. He began to read voraciously, to study the art of public speaking, to train his mind and his voice. He decided to turn every single no he had ever heard, every doubt, every insult into lead. Not the heavy metal that weighs you down, but the lead of a pencil, something with which he could write a new, more powerful story for his life. He transformed the pain of his past into the fuel for his future. He understood that his greatest obstacle was not his supposed lack of intelligence, but his own acceptance of that false narrative. He started to speak, to practice, to hone his craft with an unstoppable hunger. And then he rose. He got a job as a disc jockey, not because they hired him, but because he was so persistent they gave him a chance just to get him to go away. From there, he spoke, he rose, and he began to move crowds with the power and passion of his voice. His words became like thunder, strong, loud, and impossible to ignore. He took the stage and shared his story, not as a tale of victimhood, but as a testament to the power of the human spirit, the very thing he was told he could not do. Learn, think, and communicate effectively became the cornerstone of his global empire. He became one of the most renowned motivational speakers in the world. His pain did not break him. It became his greatest lore. The label of educable, mentally retarded became not a source of shame, but a part of his powerful testimony, a symbol of the incredible distance he had traveled. His story serves as irrefutable proof that your circumstances do not determine your destiny. The potential that lies within you is far more powerful than any label the world tries to place upon you. Les Brown's journey is a thunderous declaration for us all, a confirmation once again that the seed of greatness within cannot be destroyed. You must only choose to nourish it. You were born for more. You are not the job title printed on your business card. You are not the number that appears when you step on the scale, nor are you the scars, both visible and invisible, that life has left upon your skin. You are not the balance or lack thereof in your bank account, and you are most certainly not the car you drive or the neighborhood you live in. These are merely external circumstances, temporary labels that society uses for quick and easy categorization. They are fleeting snapshots of a single moment in your journey, not the sum total of your magnificent, complex being. We have been taught to equate our worth with these external markers, and it is a fundamental and devastating mistake. We live in a world that is obsessed with definitions. It demands that we fit neatly into boxes, that we can be summarized in a single sentence or a social media bio. So we learn to introduce ourselves by our profession, to judge ourselves by our possessions, and to define our progress by our financial status. We allow our past mistakes to become a permanent brand on our identity, believing that who we were yesterday dictates who we must be forever. Your fears, your failures, and your moments of weakness are not the core of who you are. They are experiences, not your essence. They are lessons, not life sentences. To truly break free from the trap of settling, you must initiate a profound identity shift. You must consciously and deliberately separate your true self from the labels that have been attached to you, whether by others or by your own inner critic. This is a radical act of self-reclamation. It requires you to look past the surface, beyond the tangible and the measurable, and connect with the eternal, unchangeable core of your spirit. You must stop allowing your circumstances to define your character. The truth is, you are not what has happened to you. You are what you choose to become in spite of it. You are not your fears or the litany of your past mistakes. You are the person you choose to forge in the fire each and every day you wake. You are the resilience that gets you out of bed after a fall. You are the courage that speaks a difficult truth. You are the compassion you show to a stranger. You are the creator of your own identity, and you have the power to build it from materials far more substantial than job titles or worldly goods. The person you see in the mirror is only a fraction of the story. The mirror lies when it tells you that what you see is all there is. You are meant to stand tall, far taller than any label could ever allow. So if you are not these external things, then who are you? You are every genuine laugh that has ever escaped your lips, a symphony of joy that has echoed into the world. You are every tear you have ever shed, a river of your capacity for deep feeling, for love, and for loss. You are the love you give, a force that cannot be quantified but can change the world for the people you offer it to. You are the fight within you, the stubborn refusal to give up when everything tells you to quit. You are the act of rising, right here, right now, from the ashes of your own doubt. You are an ever-evolving masterpiece, a dynamic and unfolding story of becoming. Do not dare to define yourself in terms that are too small, too restrictive, or too mundane. You are not a single note. You are an entire symphony. You are not a single color. You are the entire spectrum. To accept the world's simple labels is to do a grave injustice to the vast and complex universe that resides within you. Your identity is not a static object to be discovered, but a dynamic creation to be built. You are the architect of your own self, and you can choose to build a cathedral instead of a shack. You can design a self-concept that is rooted in your values, your character, and your infinite potential, rather than your temporary circumstances. This shift in identity is the most critical step in moving from a life of settling to a life of soaring. When you know, on a cellular level, that your worth is inherent and unconditional, you are no longer at the mercy of external validation. A job loss does not destroy you, because you are not your job. A financial setback does not diminish you, because you are not your bank account. The opinions of others lose their power, because you are no longer seeking their approval to feel whole. You become anchored in a deep, unshakable sense of self that no storm can wash away. This is the foundation upon which all lasting change is built. Therefore, you must begin the sacred work of redefining who you are, on your own terms. Write down your strengths, celebrate your acts of kindness, acknowledge your resilience, honor the love you have shared and the battles you have fought. Start to see yourself not as a collection of flaws and failures, but as a survivor, a creator, and a being of immense power and light. The mirror lies when it shows you only the surface. You must learn to look deeper, to see past the reflection and into the soul. You are meant to stand tall, not because of what you have, but because of who you are choosing to become. Let me tell you about a man who understood this identity shift because his life depended on it. Let me tell you about Steve Harvey. Today, we know him as a celebrated comedian, a charismatic television host, and a successful author. We see him in sharp suits, commanding the stage with confidence and a megawatt smile. But his reality was not always so glamorous. There was a time when his circumstances were dire, a time when the labels of failure and homeless were his stark reality. For 3 long years, Steve Harvey lived inside his Ford Tempo, a car that served as his home, his office, and his closet. Imagine that existence. He had no permanent bed to sleep in, no reliable source of meals, and just a distant, seemingly impossible dream. He would wash up in hotel bathrooms or gas station restrooms, scraping together what little money he made from comedy gigs to survive. The world saw a man without a home, a struggling artist with no tangible signs of success. By every external measure, he was failing. He could have easily accepted that label. He could have allowed his circumstances to define him, to convince him that this was his lot in life. He could have settled for a life lived on the fringes, defined by what he lacked. But Steve Harvey made a crucial choice. He refused to let his temporary situation become his permanent identity. Inside that car, he was not just a homeless man. He was a comedian honing his craft. He was an entertainer preparing for his big break. He was a future king temporarily living in a metal chariot. He kept on grinding through the cold nights and the hungry days because he held on to a vision of himself that was far bigger and brighter than his current reality. He saw the bigger light, a future where his talent would be recognized and his struggle would become a part of his powerful story. His identity was anchored in his potential, not his poverty. And because he held that vision, he eventually broke through. He fought to change his life, and now he hosts, he speaks, he inspires, and he thrives. His story is a powerful lesson in the separation of self from circumstance. He did not settle for the floor of his car being the final chapter. He knew even then, in his darkest moments, that he was born for more. He understood that his address did not define his destiny. His journey proves that you can be in a difficult place without letting that place be in you. You have the power to decide who you are regardless of where you are. There is a question that echoes in the dark, silent chambers of the mind, a paralyzing whisper that holds so many dreams hostage. What if I fail? It is a heavy, suffocating question, one that paints vivid pictures of disaster and humiliation. What if I invest everything I have and I fall flat on my face? This thought alone can be enough to stop you dead in your tracks, to convince you that the safety of the familiar shore is better than the vast, unknown ocean of your potential. What if they laugh at me? What if I become a cautionary tale, the one they point to as they watch me crawl back from my failed attempt? These questions are not genuine inquiries. They are the bars of a cage that fear builds around your ambitions. But I want you to consider a different set of questions, ones that are far more powerful and life-giving. What if you try? And what if you actually succeed instead? What if you take that leap of faith and discover that you have wings you never knew existed? What if you rise from the ashes of your self-doubt and lift not only your own head, but also the spirits of everyone watching you? What if the very thing you are most afraid of trying is the one thing that will unlock a life beyond your wildest dreams? These are the questions of possibility, the ones that can dismantle the prison of fear, brick by brick, and set your spirit free to explore its own magnificent potential. Fear is a masterful jailer, a warden that is both cold and cunningly sly. It operates with a devastatingly effective strategy. First, it whispers the most beautiful and tantalizing dreams into your ear, showing you a glimpse of the incredible life you could live. It lets you taste the sweetness of your own potential. Then, just as your heart begins to soar with excitement, it pulls you back to the ground by telling you lies. It paints the worst-case scenario in such bold, vivid, and terrifying detail that it feels more real than the dream itself. It magnifies every potential obstacle and minimizes every ounce of your strength and resilience. This strategy is designed for one purpose and one purpose only, to keep you stuck right where you are. Fear wants you to remain afraid to try, paralyzed by the potential for pain or embarrassment. It wants you to believe that the risk is too great, that the odds are stacked against you, and that it is far wiser to simply stay put in your comfortable, predictable life. Fear's ultimate goal is to convince you that the pain of staying the same is less than the potential pain of changing. It is the most clever and cruel lie of all, because it is the very thing that guarantees you will never discover the greatness you were born to achieve. But you must understand that giants fall, and the most insurmountable odds have been known to bend and even break when a person's sense of purpose begins to overflow. When your why becomes powerful enough, the how begins to take care of itself. When your commitment to your dream becomes non-negotiable, you tap into a source of strength and creativity you never knew you possessed. The force of a life lived on purpose is more powerful than any fear. It is a tidal wave of determination that can crash through the walls of doubt and carry you forward with unstoppable momentum. The fear will still be there, but your purpose will be bigger, louder, and far more compelling. The truth is, the only thing that is truly and definitively holding you back is your own belief that you must wait for a perfect track to appear before you can start running. We are sold the myth of the right time. We tell ourselves we will start when we have more money, when the kids are older, when we get that promotion, or when we feel more confident. We wait for a sign from the universe, for all the traffic lights to turn green at once, for a perfectly paved road to unroll before us. But this is a fantasy, a clever form of procrastination that keeps us safely in the waiting room of our own lives, forever preparing but never beginning. There is no such thing as a right time or a ready moment. The perfect conditions you are waiting for will never arrive. Life will always be messy, complicated, and filled with uncertainty. There will always be a reason not to start, an excuse to delay, a new fear to confront. The stars will never align perfectly. To wait for that moment is to wait forever. The people who achieve extraordinary things are not the ones who waited for the perfect moment. They are the ones who seized an imperfect moment and made it perfect through their action, their grit, and their unwavering commitment to move forward no matter what. The power is not in the plan, it is in the start. The magic is not in the readiness, it is in the rising. Therefore, you must be willing to start scared. You must give yourself permission to begin even when your hands are shaking and your voice is trembling. You must start small, with one tiny, manageable step that moves you in the direction of your dream. Just start your climb. Take the first step, then the next, and then the next. Do not settle now for the illusion of a perfect future start. There is so much more waiting for you, and the very best of your life is standing right at your door, knocking, waiting for you to simply open it and begin. The fear of failure is often rooted in a deeper fear, the fear of not being good enough from the very beginning. We live in a culture that glorifies the finished product, but rarely shows the messy, awkward, and often embarrassing process of getting there. We see the flawless performance, the best-selling novel, the successful company, and we mistakenly believe it sprang into existence fully formed. This creates an unrealistic expectation that we too must be perfect from day one. We believe that if we are not immediately brilliant at something, it is a sign that we are not meant to do it at all. So we quit before we even truly begin. This perfectionism is a gilded cage, a beautiful but deadly trap that keeps your potential locked away. The truth is that everything is difficult before it is easy. Every master was once a disaster. Every expert was once a beginner, fumbling and making mistakes. The writer of your favorite novel wrote hundreds of terrible pages before they found their voice. The musician who moves your soul played countless wrong notes. The entrepreneur you admire launched ideas that failed miserably. The courage to be a beginner, to be bad at something on the way to becoming good at it, is one of the most essential and overlooked ingredients for success. You must embrace the idea of the shitty first draft, as the writer Anne Lamott so brilliantly calls it. Give yourself permission to create something imperfect, to write the clumsy sentence, to paint the messy canvas, to launch the flawed prototype. The goal of the first step is not to be perfect. The goal of the first step is simply to be taken. It is about generating momentum. It is about breaking the powerful inertia of inaction. You can edit a bad page. You cannot edit a blank one. You can improve a clumsy attempt. You cannot improve on something that you never even tried. So let go of the need for immediate perfection. Grant yourself the grace to be awkward, to learn, to grow, and to fail forward. Each mistake is not a verdict on your worth. It is a lesson in disguise. Each stumble is not a sign of weakness. It is a data point showing you what doesn't work so you can get closer to what does. This is your moment. Stop waiting for confidence to arrive before you start. Confidence is not a prerequisite for action. It is a result of it. Take a deep breath, embrace the beautiful mess of beginning, and take that first imperfect step. The world does not need your perfection. It needs your courage to try. So we arrive at this moment, a crossroads where the path of your past meets the horizon of your future. We have journeyed through the lies that hold you captive and the routines that lull you into a state of slumber. We have uncovered the seed of greatness that lies dormant within you and confronted the fears that stand guard at the gate of your dreams. You have seen the proof in the lives of others, from Oprah to Colonel Sanders, from J.K. Rowling to Steve Harvey. They are not mythical figures. They are ordinary people who made an extraordinary choice. They chose to believe that their future could be bigger than their past, and they were right. You now understand that you possess a power deep inside of you, a formidable strength that cannot and should not be brushed aside or ignored. This power is not a privilege reserved for the famous, the wealthy, or the fortunate. It is your birthright. It burns within you right now, a steady and persistent flame, waiting for you to acknowledge its presence and fan it into a roaring fire. You have ideas that the world is waiting for, a unique perspective that can solve problems, and a story that can heal others. You have a profound why, a reason for being, even if you feel you have lost the how. The power is not something you need to find, it is something you need to unleash. Trust me when I tell you this. The moment you make that internal shift, The moment you decide to stop settling and start living, the entire world around you begins to lift and transform. It is a law of the universe. When you change your energy, you change your reality. When you move with purpose, opportunities appear where there were once only obstacles. When you radiate belief in yourself, others begin to believe in you too. The shift does not start with a new job or a new location. It starts within the landscape of your own mind. It begins with the simple, powerful decision to own your worth and claim your potential. Look at the example of Simone Biles, a titan in her sport who stood against the immense tide of public pressure and expectation. She faced internal battles, mental health struggles, and the heavy weight of the world on her shoulders. When she chose to step back, it was not an act of fear or quitting. It was a profound act of self-reclamation. It was her reclaiming her power in the clearest, most courageous way possible. She taught the world that true courage isn't always about pushing through. Sometimes it is about choosing yourself when things get overwhelmingly loud. That is the power you have, the power to choose you. Courage is not always a thunderous roar that shakes the mountains. More often, it is the quiet voice at the end of a long, hard day that whispers, "I will try again tomorrow." It is choosing to be kind to yourself after a mistake. It is the decision to rise up one more time when every muscle in your body feels sore and your spirit feels bruised. It is the internal scream that you must learn to listen to, the one that cries out from the deepest part of your soul, "I was born for more than this." This is your truth. This is the compass pointing you toward your true north. Do not ignore its call. So now, the decision rests entirely with you. What will you choose to be from this day forward? Will you remain a prisoner to your past, locked in the cage of routine and fear? Or will you choose to be the one who finally sets yourself free? Will you be a whisper lost in the chorus of conformity? Or will you unleash the lion's roar of your unique purpose? Will you be the person who settles for a life of quiet desperation? Or will you become the one who courageously and relentlessly demands more? The two paths diverge here, and you are the only one who can decide which one to take. The life you truly want, the one that feels vibrant, meaningful, and aligned with your soul, begins with this single choice. It begins with one brave step into the unknown, with one bold voice that dares to say yes to your own dreams. You do not need a perfect 10-year plan mapped out in intricate detail. You do not need permission from anyone else. All you need is a flicker of faith in yourself, just enough to say the two most powerful words in the universe. I can. That is where the magic begins. That is where your new story is born. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with this one simple, decisive step. This is your moment. This is your hour. This is your open sky waiting for you to spread your wings and fly. It is your chance to grow beyond your self-imposed limits, to truly live instead of just exist, and to try even if it means you might fail. Do not wait for a clearer sign or a more perfect door to open. The only proof you will ever need is already inside of you, in the persistent, unshakable core of your being. Remember this truth from this day until your last. From every shore to every mountaintop, you were not made to settle. You were born for more.